This entrepreneur sold his company for $10 million, but today it's worth over $6 billion. What went wrong? This is the story of Alexis Ohanian. Hey everyone, and welcome to Booked, where we inspire others with inspiring stories. In today's video, we're going to go over the success story of Alexis Ohanian and his company Reddit. So make sure to watch this video till the end, because we're also going to share books and principles that inspired Alexis Ohanian to succeed. Books that changed his life and that may change yours. Alexis Ohanian, Reddit. Lots of apps and services are competing to get a better chunk of the internet. Bigger boys like Google and Facebook have billions of users and pride themselves on having the biggest users on the internet. But Reddit looked beyond all of those big numbers and tagged itself as the front page of the internet. Why do they regard themselves as the internet front page? Are they really the front page of the internet? We'll find out shortly. But before we get into those details, let's look at the young man who inspired Reddit. Alexis Ohanian has lots of startups and achievements to his name. No wonder he's referred to as the startup guy. At the top of the startups is Reddit. He came into the limelight after he founded and sold the internet sensation for $10 million. Born in 1983, Alexis Ohanian always wanted to be a lawyer. As a matter of fact, he studied history and commerce at the University of Virginia and is one of the top students in his class. Because of his intelligence, he was picked to give the graduation speech during his high school days. As a smart chap in school, it was traditional to dream about being a lawyer or a doctor. But Alexis Ohanian had a second thought after attending a lecture taught by Paul Graham at the University of Cambridge. A lecture was on how to start a startup. Alexis left the class determined to create something. Being very smart, Alexis attracted another smart chap who would become his co-founder at Reddit. Steve Huffman was Alexis' roommate back at the University of Virginia and even followed him to that lecture at Cambridge that shaped their mind towards entrepreneurship. Inspired by Paul Graham's lecture, these two fellows set out to launch startups. But before even going into startups, Alexis did some petty jobs like washing plates and working as a waiter at a restaurant. In an interview with CNBC, Alexis mentioned that his experiences as a waiter taught him most of the customer relationship tips he applied at Reddit. Having worked in a restaurant, it's not surprising that his first startup would be in the food business. He convinced his roommate about a food ordering app, and they both set out to develop it. Alexis and his roommate Huffman are perfect examples of roomies. They're both interested in starting a company, and their skills complement each other. Steve Huffman is a programmer, and Alexis is a business developer. With this combination, they were ready to launch tech startups. But in business, things may not go as planned. Their food ordering app called My Mobile Menu could not raise the capital it needed to flag off. They pitched it to Paul Graham, a co-founder and partner at Y Combinator, but he rejected it. It takes a smart person to identify smart people. Paul Graham could see that the duo were smart chaps, so he offered to admit them into the Y Combinator program to work on a different idea. Paul Graham believed in their potential and allowed them to deploy their intelligence into building what could remarkably change the way people use the internet. Paul Graham's decision to give Alexis and Huffman another chance gave birth to Reddit, and today, the rest they say is history. Building the front page of the internet. Most top companies you know today were the brainchild of their founders. Think about Facebook, Apple, Google, and so on. They were all original ideas of the founders. But for Reddit, it was a mere suggestion from an investor. Like I mentioned earlier, the Reddit founders originally wanted to start a food ordering app, but Paul, whom they pitched to, didn't think a food ordering app will make waves. He suggested they make something more exciting and even share the idea of Reddit with them. If you're an entrepreneur watching this, you'd agree that it's quite difficult to let go of an idea you like so much. I would imagine that Alexis and Huffman may have held back a little bit, but that wouldn't be the case. They immediately dropped their food ordering business and started working on the idea Paul suggested to them. Well, let's say that Paul was right. They would later sell that idea for $10 million, and today it's worth over $1 billion. Well, looking at the current valuation of Reddit, some consider selling it at $10 million to be a total waste. Although the social news aggregation website grew rapidly within the first 2 years, Alexis Ohanian may not have been patient enough to reap the grand reward. In a tweet, Alexis wished he had better advisors who could have advised him on better choices. Maybe a Series A would have been a better way to raise more money and still keep your company. But there's no need to cry over spoiled milk. Alexis Ohanian came back to become a board member, but would later leave that role to pursue other purposes. These days, Alexis is popular for being the husband of the tennis legend Serena Williams. But he is also very active in the startup world. He's investing a lot in startups and helping them to avoid the mistakes he made. Helping others avoid mistakes. Since leaving Reddit, Alexis has been involved in a couple of organizations. He's worked as a partner at Y Combinator, served as a board member at Reddit, worked with Flavier and other companies. But at the top of his post-Reddit activities is the investment firm he started in 2012. Alexis founded Initialized with Gary Tan in 2012. Through Initialized, Alexis has invested in over 120 companies and exited over 35 of them. Some of the companies he invested in are Coinbase, Instacart, Algolia, and a host of other companies. Alexis has now launched a second venture fund called 776 to specifically help young entrepreneurs avoid the mistakes he made. Mistakes like selling your company for $10 million only to see it grow rapidly a year later and now evaluated $6 billion. So at 776, Alexis will invest in seed stage businesses, but more than the funding, he'll help them grow their business and maximize its full potentials. There are various lessons to learn from the story of Alexis Ohanian, but at the top of it is the need to have more experienced people advise you in your business or during difficult situations. I cannot overemphasize the importance of having experienced people as advisors and mentors. For Alexis, there were 2 times advice made and marred him. The first was when Paul Graham advised him to quit his food ordering app and start Reddit. That advice, we can say, made Alexis what he is today. Just imagine if he continued with the food ordering app. He may not have been as successful. On the other hand, not getting good advice before selling Reddit has over time proven to be a big mistake. A mistake that could cost him billions of dollars. A costly one indeed. Books recommendations. As is our culture, in this section we'll be going through some of the books that helped Alexis on his journey as an entrepreneur. These books helped him to build the front page of the internet and also helped him invest in over 120 companies in his portfolio. Make sure to grab copies of this book and begin your journey to success. Without Their Permission by Alexis Ohanian. Building the front page of the internet comes with a deep belief in the possibilities of the World Wide Web. In this book, Alexis Ohanian argues that most businesses in the future will be online. So he shared tips and insight on how young people can harness the power of the web. He uses his experiences building Reddit to inspire readers across the world to start up their business game and create the next big thing. Indeed, you don't need anybody's permission to pursue your dreams, and just like Alexis Ohanian, you can build the next big thing. Grab a copy to get started. The Ride of a Lifetime by Robert Iger. There are reasons Alexis would want you to read this book, but at the top of it would be to learn from successful people. Following the rapid growth of Reddit, Alexis complained that if he had better advisors, he wouldn't have sold his company for peanuts when compared to the current valuation. In this book, Robert shares his wealth of experience leading one of the world's most loved companies for 15 years. Just imagine you're in a room with the CEO of Walt Disney. What are the questions you may want to ask him? This book answers all of your possible questions and even more. What's more, you get to learn the success tips that made Walt Disney one of the most successful entertainment companies on earth. Indistractable by Nur Eyal. There's a lot of noise out there. It's easier to get distracted today more than at any other time in history. The inventions of social apps, gadgets, and other fancy tools have contributed to the high level of distraction in our world today. You decide to sit down and focus on a project, but a WhatsApp message pops in, inviting you to a house party. How do we stay afloat and focused in a world filled with all kinds of distractions? Alexis Ohanian highly recommends this book as a tool to learn how to focus on the moment and get things done. We are sure you're familiar with some of the distractions out there, so we're hoping you grab a copy of this book and learn how successful people focus and achieve their goals. Super Pumped by Mike Isaac. This book uses Uber as a case study, examining the events leading to the removal of Travis Kalanick as the CEO of Uber. We've seen similar cases in the startup world, like the case of Steve Jobs and Apple. But Mike Isaac takes the bull by the horn and dissects the case of Uber and the lessons from it. Mike Isaac interviewed several past and current Uber employees in a bid to understand the details that led to the rise and fall of Uber at the time of this crisis. This book will open you to the internal game played in most startups and how funds alone cannot guarantee the success of a company. A very good read. You should get a copy. We hope you're inspired by the story of Alexis Ohanian. Remember to also develop the habit of reading books.